Good morning in the news this morning. And today we're doing a coffee. And today we're talking about my personal fitness journey. If this is the first time you are visiting my channel, welcome. I'm doing Vlogtober, which means I'm posting a new video every day for the month of October. I am loving it. My name is Christine Cohen. I am a registered dietitian and New York City based fitness specialist. I work with people here in New York City on a one-on-one personal training basis. I also do a lot of online coaching for nutrition therapy, for training, and I speak a lot about mental health, as you can see, depression and anxiety. So that's the gist of it. Yeah. I was doing everything wrong, essentially. Yeah, I was working out, I was going to the gym, I was training my body, I was doing cardio, I was doing weightlifting, I was eating healthy food choices, but my body remained skinny. It remained small, it remained thin, and I did not feel fit. I knew like I could fit into a size 0 or a size 2, but my body really had no shape. I also just want to put out there that I'm speaking really aesthetically today. I'm speaking really bluntly about my physique and how one of my goals was to transform myself aesthetically on the outside. And if you watch my other videos, you know that there's so much more tied into this experience on the mental, emotional side. This is like once I got myself in gear and my focus was, okay, I'm ready to like handle this. And it wasn't easy to get here, but I'm gonna speak really simply about the things that I needed to change on that level in order to get to where I am now. If you want to check out some more videos of me talking about how I built myself up to make those changes, what I needed to do to identify my triggers, and then help myself, you know, deal with them, go beyond them, get through them. I've made previous videos about that, so I'll just put some links around here for you to click and watch that. Never quite got there. That includes creating and building and developing muscle throughout my entire physique, restructuring the shape of my body so that my naturally skinny, thin, small, ectomorph physique could actually pack on some muscle so that I could reshape my naturally boxy athletic build, wider back to have the visual appearance of a smaller waist, to build my glutes, build my butt, but shrink my hips so that I could have that look that kind of looks really nice, where a girl's body is like tapered in and then comes out, showing curves. And yeah, it took quite a while to get there. This isn't just a weight loss story. This isn't just, this is how I lost 25 pounds of body fat. This is how I built my body from being skinny at 115 pounds to gaining a ton of weight and then really learning how to build a body, build muscle, and then losing and shedding body fat so that the definition of that could be seen. Alright, so where to start? Let's talk about the things that I was doing wrong for many, many years. Look, so what were the biggest things that, looking back now, I knew that I was doing wrong? I was doing cardio and way too much of it. So I was basically, for the first 5 or 6 years of my training, going into the gym, either doing 20 to 60 minutes of cardio on an elliptical, a Stairmaster, a treadmill, something like that. I felt so strongly that the amount of cardio that I did was dramatically connected to how lean I was, to how much you could see my muscle definition, and if I didn't do cardio, all I would be was bulky and big and fat, and you wouldn't be able to see the muscle that I was building in my training sessions. My second mistake was when I was training, I was lifting way too light of weights. My program was not progressive, meaning it was not constantly challenging myself enough, basically stressing my muscles enough for them to break down in order to grow and build in my rest periods. I did not have a good structure or programming as far as what muscles to train when. I was doing very basic, I shouldn't say basic, I was doing very small movements mixed with cardiovascular movements. So for instance, I would do a circuit style, bicep curls, burpees, and plyometric lunges. So individually, like, there's really nothing wrong with all of those, but plyometric lunges and burpees are primarily a cardiovascularly challenging movement. Yeah, it was in short bursts, and so it was high intensity, but my muscles were not being overloaded enough to grow. Bicep curls, yeah, will build your biceps and will assist in that. They're a small muscle group. It's not something that's going to dramatically overall affect your metabolism and your ability to burn lean body mass at a faster rate, which happens when you have more muscle. So I was wasting a lot of time doing small muscle group stuff. When I did train big compound movements, squats, and I didn't do any deadlifts back then, I did do some bench, and I did do leg presses, and I did do lat pull downs and things like that, but I never understood how much weight I needed to lift. I knew in my head I needed to do between, like, the average 8 to 15 reps, let's just say. That's a general statement. But I would lift way too light for those. I basically would be able to easily do that 8 reps. I would easily be able to get through that 15 reps. And so I never pushed my body to get stronger. It never got stronger. I remember it was like I was working for 6 months at doing chest presses, bench presses, and I barely got past the 45-pound bar. And I never knew how to progress myself, either through lifting heavier weight or for more reps. Part of me was scared, part of me was nervous that if I did too much weight, I would get too bulky. Part of me was just uncomfortable with that much weight over my body. So I never learned to trust my body. I was in that phase of like, okay, this feels like enough. I'm definitely getting a sweat on. My heart is racing. It feels tough. I'm kicking my ass, because I was kicking my butt. Like, I would do so many cardiovascular movements in my circuit that, yeah, I was out of breath. I was tired. I was wiped. But all I was doing was really burning calories. And a lot of the time I was probably burning the small amount of muscle that I might have been building, because I was doing so many cardiovascular movements that it was tapping into my glycogen stores in my muscle. Which moves into my third mistake. I was not eating enough calories. I was eating 1,200 or less calories. I would track my food in MyFitnessPal, so I remember my goal was to eat around 1,200 calories. And my macronutrients, if I think back correctly, were high protein and just low carb and low fat. So I was eating a ton of protein and very little carbs, mostly coming from vegetables. And fats, I was like scared to use. I would spray Pam to make my omelets. I would barely use any oil when cooking, just like a little bit to coat the pan. I would barely eat any nuts. Avocado, no, I just like didn't see a point in it. I ate fruit, I ate vegetables, and then interspersed with this would be times of binging, primarily because I wasn't even giving my body enough energy to support all of the activity that I was doing. So physiologically, my body could only like hold out for so long before it was like, cake, cookies, give me it all, carbs, I want all of the things. Just not consuming enough calories was preventing my body from building muscle, because you do need to be in an anabolic state, which means that you're building, and in order to do that you need nutrition. So I was working out with too much cardio, I wasn't lifting heavy enough to build any kind of muscle, and I wasn't eating enough. So there was no wonder that I was just staying at the same physique, shape, weight, all of that. The only time my weight would go up was when I would binge, and I would feel puffy and bloated, and if that would happen for days or weeks at a time, then my weight would really go up, and it wouldn't just be water retention, it would be body fat that I was putting on. So it was really frustrating for me. I felt like I wasn't doing anything right, and I didn't know and was too scared to make a change to my programming, which is just silly when you look back on it. Like, if something is clearly not working, what's the worst that could happen if you make a small change or you experiment and try something crazy? The worst thing that could happen is you'll just continue doing and staying the same. It wasn't until all three of those things change that I started to see significant changes in my own body and physique. So, where do I start? Let's start with lifting in the gym. Once I realized that I could lift so much more weight and I shouldn't be scared of trying to lift a little bit heavier because I would fail at it, it was really overcoming that fear of failure and absorbing and accepting that failure was probably something I should push closer towards, if not hit it. What's the big deal? So once I got over that fear, I saw a lot of change. My body was being overloaded and progressed just purely by the fact that it was being so taxed and so broken down in my weight training sessions that it was forced to start to grow, and the synthesis of my muscle started to become something real. So that was a significant change. Second thing is I started to focus more on compound movements. Big movements that, yeah, involve a lot of muscle groups at the same time and don't just involve assistance work. Squats, deadlifts, standing overhead presses, pull-ups, push-ups, like they're not new exercises. Involving my core during doing different things. I'm experimenting now with doing different double loads, so a primary load and a secondary load from a weight and a cable. So different things to tax more muscles at once. And pushing my strength in those. So changing my programming to understand that I need to progressively, not every week, but every few weeks, should be able to lift either a little heavier or lift more repetitions with that same weight I've been working on. So both represent strength. Another major change is I stopped doing cardio altogether. It was a big risk and I was really scared, and I basically just took a leap of faith. I was so nervous that by not doing any type of cardio, I would get fat. It was like cardio is controlling, is keeping me in this box of the somewhat lean physique, and although I feel like more chubby than muscular, I'm still like, I'm reliant on my cardio, and if you take it away from me, I'm gonna gain 10 pounds. That's what I honestly thought. And I think a lot of people do feel that as well. But I cut out all my cardio. I have barely stepped on a piece of cardio equipment in the last 3 years. And if I have, it's because I'm gonna answer emails and I'm just gonna walk on the treadmill because I'm just want to move while I'm answering emails. Like, that's really all anything. My workouts are intense sometimes enough to produce a cardiovascular endurance spike. It's done in a high intensity type of way, so it's never just like this moderate steady state sort of feeling. It spikes and bursts where I'm lifting heavy weight, where it's inducing such a cardiovascular response that my heart rate goes up, I'm sweating, my blood pressure goes up, all of that. Or I incorporate lifting lighter weights for more repetitions to get that cardiovascular response. Either way, I will never go back to doing actual cardio. What's considered cardio. Endurance, I will never take an aerobics class purely for the fact of the cardiovascular challenge, benefit, whatever. I won't take a spin class. I don't like it. There's no point in me taking it. it could actually work against your goals because it could actually utilize your muscle stores of glycogen as an energy source instead of the food that you're consuming, instead of your body fat stores, which you ideally wanted to, and you could be working against all the progress that you're making in the gym. And on a side note, if I am active, it's not like I avoid it. Like, I love to take dance. I take ballroom dancing lessons. And last but not least was the food, and this was the scariest part for me, increasing my calories. I realized and was doing some research on how to build a body, the things that people were doing in the bodybuilding world to grow and have their body adapt to the amount of food that they were eating. So I decided to increase the amount of food I was eating. I went from 1,200 calories to about 1,800 calories, which is a big jump, 600 calories. And I just, I don't remember. Okay, so I increased my carbs, I know that, and I probably increased my protein a little bit as well. I didn't really touch my fats because I was still nervous that eating fat would make me gain weight, which is another myth. Okay, so I increased my calories, and I swear, within 6 weeks, I remember being stuck at the plateau of 140 pounds for a long time. I had lost about 10 pounds doing a low calorie, the 1,200 calorie diet, and cutting out cardio and increasing the amount of weight I was lifting. I lost about 10 pounds in that period. Then I hit a plateau for 2 months. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what the heck am I doing wrong? So then I increased my calories, and I swear to you, I lost 10 pounds within 6 weeks by increasing my carbs and increasing my calories. So that was amazing to me to experience with my own self, with my own eyes and my own body. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm not going to be afraid to make changes anymore because I need to be open to listening to my body. I need to be open to experimenting with different things so that I get to know how my body works better. So after that, that's when my transformation really, really started to happen. So now, 3 years after that, I am more or less about, okay, so from this picture of me to this picture of me, I'm about 10 to 12 pounds heavier. I pretty much fit into the same clothes. I'm probably leaner in some places. I think my waist is actually smaller. And the physique of my body is completely different. So what are the major goals that you want to be working towards in your journey? If you have the desire to have a stronger looking physique and you also want to maintain leanness through year round, ideally you need your body to adapt, to become more efficient at working than it currently is. So my body adapted to not needing any source of cardio in order to still maintain its leanness. So the only thing that really affects how lean my body is how many calories I eat on a daily basis. If I increase my calories by a few hundred for a few weeks, my body weight is going to slightly increase. It might be a combination of body fat and muscle. I also take advantage and push my strength in the gym when that happens because I am trying to create more muscle development in that period. If I decide to cut and I want to lean out and I want to see more definition, I will cut back on some of the calories that I eat. How do I decide how many calories and what macros I'm going to cut down on? Save that for another video. I also want my body to adapt to needing more food. If you are in this program where you can't get results and continue results unless you are decreasing your food more and more and more, and you're not even anywhere close to where you want to be, I know this is scary, but if we worked together, we would actually work to force your body to adapt to needing more calories. This doesn't necessarily mean you will gain weight. It also doesn't necessarily mean that you will lose weight in that period. But your metabolism is way too slow for the amount of activity that you're doing and as a cause of the amount of food that you're eating, and we need to force your metabolism to increase. In order to do that, we need to increase the amount of energy you consume. This could be done over a 3 to 6 to 12 month period. Yeah, it's scary, but in the long run, you will be able to eat more food and need to eat more food. You'll be able to actually develop your body, add muscle definition, when you do restrict your calories enough to promote a body fat burning state. You will be able to lean out, and it will not be a dramatic shift. It won't be a huge restriction. And yeah, that will be ideally where you'd be at. So the key here is making gradual changes. Surprise, surprise. Mostly because if your body has been adapted to doing something for so long, if you just went from doing cardio 2 hours a day to doing 0, you'll see a negative change. Your body has been so adapted to doing all of that exercise for that long, for how many months, years you've been doing that, that you probably will increase your body fat percentage just purely for the fact that you're not getting the same amount of activity. So that's not something I advise. I work with my clients to gradually wean them off of the amount of cardio that their body needs. So if you're doing 2 hours of cardio a day, you cut down to an hour and a half. Do that for a couple of weeks. Where's your weight at? What are your we see where you're at. Okay, then we gradually decrease a little more until you're doing none. We also make sure that your weightlifting sessions are efficient, that you're pushing your body enough, and that you're not doing cardiovascular movements in your weight training session. Eventually this will change. We'll also gradually increase the amount of food that you feed yourself. This is something that is very meticulous and is challenging. You have to be pretty tedious about it, but you'll in the long run be able to eat more food, tolerate more calories, tolerate more carbs, tolerate more fat, and your body won't need to eat nothing or close to nothing. You won't need to worry about if you have something that's indulgent, that you will reap all the negative effects the next day, that you'll feel guilty for having that one indulgence and you'll feel it in your whole body. I remember being like, when I was eating such a small amount of calories and doing my high cardio thing and still working out, but if I ate like a slice of pizza, I would feel all of that water retention in my body. And it was really because I was not adapted to eating carbohydrates. So when I did eat something that was high in carbohydrates, I would notice it immediately. Now, no, it's totally different. My body, I feel like my body just eats whatever I decide to put into it. If I have something that's off of my current plan, if I indulge in something, I don't feel those negative effects in my body anymore. I don't feel like I'm bloated. I don't feel like I've gained 5 pounds in 24 hours of water. I don't feel it. My body just deals with it, digests it, absorbs whatever it needs, and then I move on. On a regular basis, I eat a moderate protein diet. I don't eat high protein anymore. I used to eat upwards of 200 grams of protein at 140 pounds. That's insane. I eat closer to 120 grams of protein now, between 100 and 120 grams. I eat way more fat and I eat way more carbs than I have ever eaten before. And that's what my diet is primarily made up of. I eat a ton of vegetables because I love them. I use a lot of oils and nuts and nut butter and avocados. So that is my fitness journey. I know it was a lot of information and I know that this was a really long video. I have to say, I will be doing videos in the future of the actual science behind my experience and others' experiences of doing low cardio to no cardio, of having a moderate to lower protein diet, to to balancing the nutrient timing, but I need to find better sources. When I Google this information, there is so much information that comes up, and there's so much wrong information that comes up that promotes different products in the bodybuilding industry, that promotes different protein powders, that promotes amino acids, that just promotes products, that tells you you need to eat a high protein diet, that tells you you need to do this amount of cardio in order to lose weight, that tells you you should be doing training this way. And I know that there's not just one answer, there's not just one way to do these things, and this is just my experience, but I know that there are a ton of other people who've had the same experience as me because I've talked to them. And I just want to reach out to people who are just lost, who are just coming into this industry, or just coming into wanting to become healthier, just starting to work out, and like clear away the BS. Again, I know this was like an extremely non-emotional way of viewing how we eat food and what we put into our bodies. Like, I didn't talk about any social events, I didn't talk about like emotional eating, I didn't talk about depression. This is very straightforward. So there are things that do affect it, but if you are someone who is lucky enough to not be plagued by any of that and you just need to know, what do I need to do to make the changes to my body that I'm trying to get to? This is my experience that I'm sharing with you to hopefully give you better direction. Alright guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love interacting with the people that have. Your comments have been great. Thank you guys for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you'd like me to make a video about the amount of calories and how I do a macronutrient breakdown for myself, and I'll make that video. All right, have an amazing day. Bye. Just to convince myself that I needed so much sleep during the day. Like, I used to be afraid that I would be so tired and so fatigued during the day that I wouldn't be able to get through the day without a nap in the middle. So, you know, I would do some work, I would get things done, and then I would feel myself getting so exhausted and so tired and just like did not want to be around anyone. I just wanted to be home and close to my bed so that if I needed to sleep, I could just sleep. And if I needed to sleep for an hour, 2 hours, I would allow myself to do it. Then I would wake up and I would feel a little bit rested, but I would feel guilty that I slept for that long, and then I would feel upset with myself that I didn't do a lot of the things that I knew I should have been doing and wanted to do, but just convinced myself I didn't have the energy to do. And then I would, you know, do whatever I had to do later in the day, train clients and whatnot, and then come home and tell myself that it's after 8 o'clock, like I can't get